What happens when you feel like you have plateaued? Welcome to Beauty and the Gi, the podcast about jiu-jitsu and life on and off the mat. I'm Jen Eads, a white belt full of curiosity and questions about all the things jiu-jitsu.
And I'm AJ Klingerman, a Brazilian jiu-jitsu purple belt, obsessed with all things jiu-jitsu.
So in this episode, we are talking about what happens when you feel like you have reached a plateau. I'm still new enough at jiu-jitsu that I think I've got a ways to go before that actually happens.
Yeah, and that's what James said too. Like the longer you train, the more plateaus you hit and the longer those plateaus can be sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I hear it a lot. I think a plateau tends to show up more, not that you feel like you're not improving, but that instead you suddenly feel like you suck at jiu-jitsu.
Oh, wait, then I am there. Let me rephrase that.
No, but like it happens all the time where people are just like, I don't know. I don't think I'm doing well. But where you are right now, like, even though you feel like you suck at jiu-jitsu, which you don't, it's a different thing because you still notice like you're learning things, you're still excited about the learning. But I think a lot of times people, when they hit the plateau, they don't feel like they're like learning new things. Mm-hmm. They don't feel like they're improving at all. So it's not just that they suck. It's just that, suddenly you realize there's so much more jiu-jitsu and you know so much already, but now you just feel stuck. Like you feel like you're not getting better. So I think that's a lot of times when people hit it. Definitely happens at blue.
That's what I hear.
Yes. These are where the blue belt blues come in. And we've talked about it. We've touched on it before. I think blue belt blues come in, one, because, you hit blue belt, which suddenly felt like the goal. Uh-huh. Like that was the only goal. Like, I just want to get my blue belt. Then you get it and you're like, do I still want to do jiu-jitsu? Or, like instead of just being, doing jiu-jitsu for jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. I can't even imagine. Maybe because I still feel like that is so far in the future.
Right.
That I can't imagine not just showing up and just doing it.
Yeah. Like you don't want that to be the end. Uh-huh. That's just the beginning. Like that's like you're done with your intro class. And now, now we're going to start getting into some jiu-jitsu, Uh-huh. But then there is a really big gap in how long you're a blue belt. Like I was a blue belt for 4.5 years. Mm-hmm. It's hard in the beginning when you first get it because you're like, oh my God, that girl's a blue belt and she's so much better than me. And then it's hard when you've had it for like 4 years and you're like, everybody I've ever competed against is a purple or a brown belt now. Yeah. And I'm still a blue belt. And so there's different points where you kind of get those blue belt blues. Mm-hmm. I read somewhere they called it purple belt purgatory. Like, that feels right. Like, so spoiler alert, doesn't get better. No, but I think the biggest way to get through any kind of plateau is to work on something specific, learn something new, something completely out of your game. Maybe like you've always played the same game. You've always done like this is who you are as a grappler. Like you think this is my game, but I'm going to start like, I've always been a top player. I've always been a smasher. I'm going to start working on my guard. And then, so you just, every time you roll, you try to get to your guard. You do things from your guard. Every time you get out of your guard, you get back into your guard. Like you focus on something specific and new. I think that makes jiu-jitsu exciting again. So that's my biggest recommendation first.
Okay.
So personally, I also think competition helps with plateaus.
Really?
Yeah. It gives you something to focus on.
True.
Makes you train harder, like makes you shake things up a little bit. Maybe go do a super fight even. Something, like do something crazy. Go, do a bigger tournament than you've ever done before, or do a small tournament. Maybe you've only ever done big ones. Like go do a small one where it's in your community, or go on vacation somewhere and do one while you're on vacation. Like whatever that is. Like I think that's a good way to kind of get over a plateau as well.
Okay.
I have more.
You what?
I have more. I have more ideas.
Of course you do.
I'll
okay.
let you know.
Yeah.
personal plug aside, go to a camp. Go to a camp. I think that shakes things up and helps you fall back in love with jiu-jitsu.
Well, and there's just so many different people to roll with.
Yeah. And just, kind of getting more attached to the community and meeting new people and hearing other people's stories. And sometimes your plateau is because of all of the garbage on the outside, all of the world that's trying to beat you down and, the negativity or whatever. And so you just kind of get burnt out. And so when you're burnt out at work or at home, you become burnt out with jiu-jitsu too. And so I think something like going to a camp really shakes that up. It makes you fall back in love with the sport again. And I've heard lots of women come to me after coming to camp and just being like, I was about ready to quit. And you really made me fall in love with jiu-jitsu again.
When did you hit your first plateau?
I don't know. My white belt journey or campaign, as the guys would call it, was so long and so spread out. I definitely don't feel like I ever really hit a plateau at white belt just because it was just, it was a weird journey for me. Blue belt, I was there for a really long time, and I don't know that I hit a real normal plateau as far as feeling like I wasn't really improving. I will say at the beginning of blue belt, I was very selfish with my jiu-jitsu.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Tell me about that.
Well, I wouldn't want James to show the good stuff to other people that maybe I could use the good stuff on.
Oh, yeah.
It's, and I've heard that that's a very normal thing. Blue belt tends to be a little bit of a selfish spot.
Interesting.
Because you kind of want it for yourself. Don't show them that. Right. And I think, I quickly got through that because I started the women's program. So I think we probably started the women's classes just within months after me getting my blue. And at first, it's just a few of us, so it's easy to just do some very basic things. But I couldn't be too selfish for too long.
No.
I have to share with my girls,
Right.
But yeah, so I think I was a little selfish at first, but I don't know if I ever really felt like I hit a plateau where I was just burnt out with jiu-jitsu or just kind of over it. I guess really what helped me the most with that was the community. I wanted to be on the mat with my people. So that, I think it depends on why you do jiu-jitsu, right? If you do jiu-jitsu just for the sport, that might not be enough. If you do it just for competition and it's just competition after competition after competition, then suddenly you're like, all right, what more? So, where I think competition can help with plateaus, the thing that I'm talking really is shaking it up, right?
Yeah.
Change some things. But for me, one of the main reasons, I love competition. I love to compete even when I suck or I suck at it or whatever. Even when I'm not very good at competing, I still love competing. But I think for the most part, I do it for the community. I love going to class because I love teaching. I love, so that selfishness didn't last too long.
That's good. We're all very grateful for that.
But I just love sharing jiu-jitsu and building the community. And so it kind of helped with the plateaus for me. I've definitely had some times where I questioned, whether I was good enough to be, leading the front or representing my team or whatever. But I don't know. I've seen way more plateaus than I feel like I've felt from other people, I see a lot of people come up and I feel like I can help kind of guide them through it, but I don't know that how much I've experienced it. And if I have, I must have blocked it out because I'm so happy with jiu-jitsu right now. I've just, I'm so obsessed now. I've just, forgotten about times that I wasn't.
What are the warning signs?
I think that little bit of almost dread going to class. You don't want that.
I can't imagine.
Right. But I know that there's people that are just I guess I should go to class.
Yeah.
And maybe maybe you're not in the right place. Like there's a lot of different things that you should look at. Like, is it somebody there that is making you feel that way? I don't know, but I think it's kind of having that little bit of like, oh, I could just stay home tonight. I think that's probably the first warning sign. Is it just not having the desire to train? I always think the biggest recommendation I have is go to your coach, talk to your coach, because they may see something too. Like what's happening? Why do I suck all of a sudden? And like, I was talking to James about this recently. Like he has a guy that was basically like, I don't think I'm doing a very good job. I don't think I've improved since I've become a blue belt. And James was like, I feel like the exact opposite. I feel like you've improved one of the most of all the blue belts. But so sometimes it's just you not seeing yourself. And so going and talking to your coach and being like, all right, what's wrong? What do I need to work on? And them going, you realize you're doing a great job, right? It's actually not as bad as you think. So open communication is important too.
Yeah. All right. So if you start feeling that dread, pay attention.
Pay attention.
You've got some tools now to kind of hopefully help you work through that.
Yeah. Talk to your coach.
Yeah.
I think that's the first step.
All right. And there you have it. So what's your tip for on the mat this week?
On the mat, switch it up. Go with something crazy, like unless you're getting ready for a competition, like don't be dumb. But, pick a game that you've never really tried before. Like try some ashi, try some X-guard, try some lasso. Like, I don't know, just try something that you've never tried before and try to put it in your game.
How about off the mat?
Off the mat, recognize the chaos, that's affecting you on the mat.
Oh, that's good.
Recognize what's happening off the mat that you're carrying with you on the mat that might make you feel like you're not good enough.
We were talking about journaling recently, and I think that would be probably something else that I need to start writing.
Yeah.
To kind of track that when I beat myself up the most.
Yep.
What else is going on?
What else is going on in your life?
Or when I start to feel a little more anxiety on the mat, what else? Because I can tell when we're in class and I've got a lot going on off the mat, I am much more likely to lose my breath and go into a little anxiety.
Yeah. And I mean, that's what a lot of my notes include now is, not just, who I'm rolling with or how many rounds I got or what I was hitting, what I, was getting hit with, those kind of stuff. But it's even, how I feel physically and emotionally, what's hurting really bad or, if I don't feel well, like what did I eat? If I feel down, am I feeling sad because someone else is sad and I'm, taking on that emotion or am I slacking at my job? And so then I'm sitting on the mat and, James is teaching and I'm going, oh, I should have been doing this. I forgot to do this today. Am I letting that get in the way of my training?
Oh, that's absolutely happened to me.
Yeah.
And 20-something-year-old me is just horrified that I would even talk about writing my feelings down. What happened?
It's good for you.
I guess it is. The beauty of 40-something.
Right. Beauty of growth.
All right. So that's the on the mat, the off the mat. And don't be a stranger, friends. We would love to hear if you've hit a plateau, how you worked through that. You can always connect with us on Instagram at Beauty and the Gi Podcast. I'm also on there at Brassy Broad Jen.
And I'm AJ Klingerman.
And I think one of our favorite things is to actually just get messages from people that are listening.
It's so awesome.
It is. It's more, I get more excited about that than I even do about seeing the download numbers growing.
Yeah.
I would much rather get a message.
Because then we realize that it's personal.
Right.
Yeah. Someone's listening. Someone cares.
Right. Someone out there is listening. So let us know. Let us know how you've worked through a plateau. Let us know what you want to hear on future podcasts.
Yes.
If you have any recommendations for future guests, we're always looking for that too. And you can also find us on Facebook at Beauty and the Gi
Podcast and Beauty and the Gi Gang. So whether you want to be in the group or like our page, both of those are possible on Facebook.
Right. And you can also go to our YouTube channel. AJ's actually putting videos up there now.
Thank goodness. Also, if you're female, come meet us at Role Model Women's Only Grappling Camp.
Yes, I'll be the one in the corner, not talking to anyone.
That's not true. I bet she's going to talk to people. But you can still probably find her in the corner talking to one of the other introverts.
Right. We're going to have the introvert club.
But yes, I really hope to meet a lot of you guys at camp. I'm super excited about it.
And we will see you on the mat.